Hello, my wonderful, beautiful, beautifully wonderful friends. Welcome back to r/Entitled People, where many of you come to hear stories about people who think that the world revolves around them and that nobody else matters. Like this very nice lady right here, who shares a receipt for drinks from a restaurant saying, "When I became a military spouse, I thought I would get stuff for free. WTF?" And she actually had the audacity to write on the receipt, "I'm a military spouse. It should be free. Next time, thank a military spouse." With a smiley face. And of course she left 0 tip. 0. Why, thank you so much, ma'am, for wearing your husband's rank and flaunting it like that. I'm sure everyone in the restaurant absolutely loves you. My friends, in this episode, you're gonna hear 3 entitled people stories, so buckle up. The first story is about a group of religious women who won't stop praying at work. The second story, a Karen tries to fire OP because he's not a mind reader. And we'll finish off with a story where a woman tries to steal someone's face mask while they're wearing it. Jeez! I hope you stay for the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future entitled people stories. My friends, let's dive in. Long ago, I worked at a company with a group of super religious women. They would stand together every morning in front of their desks, holding hands, loudly praying about whatever. Their cubes were cluttered with all things Jesus related, and at lunch, they would get together to read their Bible while they ate. I'm not judging, I'm just explaining about them. So I was the subject matter expert for something work related and was asked to train these women on it. The day of training, I was maybe 3 seconds into my presentation when one of the women stopped me and claimed that they hadn't had their morning prayer yet. The women all stood up and started reaching for each other's hands to pray. One of them reached over the table to take my hand, but I didn't move. I just sat there watching in shock that they would do this. When she waved her hand at me impatiently, signaling I wasn't doing what she wanted, I spoke up and said, "Ladies, please sit down. You can do this after our meeting. We're already 10 minutes in, and this meeting is work-related. What you're doing is not. We have a lot of material to cover." The looks on their faces were as if I'd smeared dog crap across the table and rolled naked in it. Lady number 1 says, "We talk to God together every morning." I told her that's nice, but that's before work, and now we're at work, and no offense, but we're literally in the middle of something. Lady number 2 says, "This won't take long, and you'll be glad you took the time. Imagine how much better your day will be once you've spoken to our Lord and Savior." I cut her off and said, "No, please sit down. Let me finish this, and then you're more than welcome to do what you need. I'm not a religious person, so I'm not comfortable watching this or being involved." The women gasped at me, but none of them said anything, so I just kept the presentation going. After a few seconds, they looked at each other and grabbed hands and started to pray loudly over me, ignoring what I was saying. Deciding I wasn't going to waste my time, I packed up my stuff and closed my laptop and walked out of the room. I went to my boss, who took me to HR. I told the woman what just happened, and she admitted that others had complained about the loud prayers, but they hoped it wouldn't go beyond that. As we're standing there talking, we see the same group of women walk smugly through the area and disappear into the HR director's office. They were there to file a complaint against me. They claimed I was disrespectful to them and had denied them the right to be a Christian. They were threatening to sue me and the company for infringing their rights. And in the end, the legal team had to get involved, and it became a huge thing. When all was said and done, the women were told they could no longer pray openly in the office. The company had pulled a meeting room for them, so they had a private place to go, but that wasn't good enough. The first day after they were told not to pray publicly, they stood proudly in the center of the room and did it anyway, louder than ever. The lot of them were written up and suspended for the week without pay. They were told if it happened again, they'd be fired. As they were leaving, they passed by my desk and said that they would pray for me to find God and to learn to be more understanding of others who may not think like I do. I think my laughter offended them. Guys, I have nothing against religion and respect every single person's beliefs, but man, praying in the middle of a meeting loudly and then praying even louder when they thought they were being silenced, that's another level. It's pretty disrespectful. I can just hear them plotting a lawsuit right now. So, this happened a few years ago when I was 17 and working at my old job. I'm working at a very large electronic and appliance store as a sales assistant. I'm positioned in the printer and ink area for the day, and in walks a Karen. I approach her like we're supposed to do with every customer and said, "Hello, how may I help you today?" with my customer service voice and smile. Karen says, "I need ink for my printer." "Oh, that's fine. I just need you to tell me what model printer you have so I can give you your specific type of ink." I ask this because some models use a specific type of ink, so I need to Google which printer the customer has, and it tells me what number model of ink they need. She looks up at me, looking slightly shocked, and said, "Isn't it your job to know this?" I explained that I have to know what printer she has, and that any old brand of ink isn't gonna work because different printers use different sized ink cartridges. And she says, "So you're telling me that you don't know what you're doing even though they're paying you to work here?" Slightly more agitated, I say, "There's no way for me to know what model printer you have at home. If you would please go home and take a picture of that model, I can then give you the exact ink cartridge that will work for you." She looks at me dead in the face and said, "You're so useless. I'm gonna get you fired." I watch her first walk to the PC repairs guy and bark her Karen-ited version of our encounter, then move on to the cashier girl, and then to my floor manager before walking out. Now, my manager is an understanding guy and knows how crazy some of these people can be. She had told them that I was completely useless at my job and I need to be fired right away. Turns out that she came in the day after, and then the day after that, to just complain about me and to repeat her statement. I did not get into any sort of trouble for the encounter. Guys, I cannot believe OP is so useless. How dare he not be able to read Karen's mind? Guys, it happens more than you think in retail. I have a friend who works at Toyota as a parts advisor, and he actually has people get pissed off at him when he can't read their minds and tell them what they need. We were at the dreaded big box store picking up potted soil, because we are going to DIY ourselves through the isolation. Things aren't crazy here yet, but there's a 2 per customer limit on a majority of items. I assume this means everything, so we're getting 2 bags of each on a few different types of soil. My husband is loading the last 8 bags on our cart when I hear her. I know it's a Karen just by the level of unnecessary outrage in her voice. Karen says, "Are you kidding me?" Not a lot of people out here in the garden center, but we all look to her. I was almost disappointed to see that she didn't come with the requisite haircut. She actually looked like a frazzled mom, her kid tugging on her hand, and an overfull basket of groceries. And I had a moment of, girl, I feel you. But, damn it, she was pointing at us. Karen says, "You can't buy that many. You are hoarding." My husband says, "Yeah, we can. We're getting 2 each." Karen then responds, "Oh, you don't fool me. I know what you're doing." Husband replies, "So do I," and for her to go away. Well, Karen huffed at that. She spun around and yanked her kid back inside to go complain to the employee working at the register nearby. Now, we already paid for our items. The employee had come out and scanned the bags earlier. He could easily see our cart from inside. So, being finished, we pushed the cart out of the garden center into the parking lot. And then the automatic doors open, and behind us, I hear, "Now they're stealing!" Just great. We load the soil into the car and turn around to bring the cart back and look at plants. By the time we get back, Karen has given up on trying to convince the employee that we're the Bonnie and Clyde of dirt, and is now trying to negotiate skipping somebody in line. She has a child, you see, and her handbasket, well, it's just so full and heavy. The woman that Karen's trying to skip in line is young, maybe college age, and wearing a face mask. Not a medical mask, but the stretchy kind you'd wear while riding a motorcycle or when you're skiing. The mask is black and has scary wolf teeth on it that honestly made the girl look like somebody you should not mess with, even though she was wearing a Gap t-shirt and flip-flops. The girl's just shaking her head no, and that's all we got as we dropped off the cart. I browse, pick up a couple of plants, and then we head inside to wait in line. Now it's showtime. Karen and the mask girl are near the register facing off. No pun intended. From the looks of things, Mask Girl has just finished her purchase, and Karen stopped her before she could leave. I don't know if she grabbed her or anything, But Karen was still holding her full handbasket, so she hadn't checked out yet. She hadn't paid for her groceries yet because clearly this woman had just checked out. Karen says, "But you don't even need it now. You're leaving. My son could get sick because you won't give it to him and he needs it." Mask Girl says, "You can't have it. Back off, lady." Now Karen says, "But my son really likes it and it's obviously made for boys anyway. Why would you even want to wear something so scary?" "I wear it because I like it, and it has my germs on it. Why would you put a stranger's mask on your kid?" Karen retorts with, "Why are you being so rude? You wouldn't let us go through the checkout first, and now you're making my son very upset." The mask girl turns to leave, while Karen manifests the biggest balls ever and grabs the mask girl by the back of her mask. Let me make a side note here. While this is all going down, we're all just standing in line and watching. The register is still going boop 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 as the employee scans the items, but otherwise, we're all just inside this hypnotic bubble. When Karen reached out towards the mask girl, it was like the bubble popped and made everything crystal clear. Not slow-mo or anything, but I absolutely felt hyper-aware, like Spider-Man. Karen reaches out. People on both sides of me inhale loudly, and Karen grabs the mask and yanks. A lady on my right yells, and my husband steps forward. Mask Girl tucks her head down and then turns to Karen like a pissed off bull with a bright and shiny new target. I think Karen was gonna say something like, "Don't walk away from me," or something, but all she got out was, "Don't." And then we heard a crack. I looked around because the noise was so loud I figured the roof was about to cave in. But out of the corner of my eye, I see Karen spasm and drop to the floor writhing. Little Miss Mask Girl had a taser. I don't know when she pulled it out, this tiny little flashlight looking thing, but she laid Karen out with it. And not one of us moved for what felt like forever. We were all frozen. The security guard shows up, and more employees show up, and Mask Girl's chilling like she'd been through this before and knows what comes next. The kid is screaming like the wolf girl killed his mom, even though she's groaning and sobbing on the floor and clearly not dead. The people that had been in line with us were all talking at once, trying to tell the security guard what happened. We hung around just witnessing the insanity for maybe 2 more minutes before Karen started choking out demands for an ambulance, the police, a lawyer, the mayor, restitution, and reparations. My husband made eye contact with an employee and got a thumbs up when he put the plants on the shelves and pointed towards the door, and we got the hell out of there. We drove home in silence until my husband parked the car in our driveway and we just burst out laughing. Neither of us had ever seen anything like that before. We live in a small beach town. People are super laid back and mellow, and Karen was anything but, and I hope to never see her again. Oh my goodness, Mask Girl is a friggin' badass. So one thing I've learned from reading these stories about entitled people is you never, ever put your hands on anybody. You don't ever grab anybody's arm, you don't grab their shirt, and now we know you definitely don't yank on the back of someone's face mask as they're walking away, because you might get tasered. My friends, and that brings us to another end of r/entitled people. We made it. We survived. Guys, if you like this video, if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you missed the last episode of r/entitled people, a Karen Thinks OP's private pool is for her use. Go check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.